guys, welcome back to the channel. This is my Lotsa Lore LUFENIA run with Tifa, Kuja, and Eald'narche and a Tifa friend unit. This is the struggle event. So the key here is your second wave of bosses, which is 2 fierce bosses. Here in the first wave, there's really nothing to worry about. There's no orb that the bosses have here, so you can just completely shut them down with Eald'narche. It's not really a big deal. For those that don't know too much about Eald'narche or whatever it is, he has a way to completely shut down enemies. If the enemies are targeting him and he has the terror debuff on that target, they just can't act. So that's what makes the second wave of bosses, in my opinion, pretty easy. Any other way, if you don't bring Eald'narche and completely shut them down, it could get a little annoying because they, at one point, after using I think Blaze Wave, they start becoming resistant to magic. I think it's like ice and thunder, earth, holy, stuff like that. It'll absorb I think certain physical attacks. So if you let the second wave of bosses act, the mission becomes a bit annoying. But anyway, the orb is really tight. It's only a 10. It only has a count of 10, and it'll only go up one of 2 ways: is either inflicting holy damage or lightning damage. But if you inflict both holy and lightning, then it goes up by 2 counts. So if you think about it, if you have a single target attacker, kind of like Tifa, and you're doing holy damage to 1, which is what Kuja is here to do, is enchant the party with holy damage, then you're keeping the orb where it is. Because you take a turn, the orb is going to come down to 9, but you get a +1 for doing holy elemental damage or lightning elemental damage, so you're back up to 10. You keep it where it's at. But if you do both holy and lightning at the same time, then the orb goes up by 2 counts, because it's 1 for each type of element. So that's how you make the orb go up. Here I don't have any kind of lightning enchanter, so the goal is to remove the orb by dropping them down below, I believe it's 80%, or it disappears at 79%. So now you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's going to reappear at 49%, which at that point it's again damage race. And then if the orb is at a really low count, you can use the Ramu summon here, and once you summon him, you're doing both holy and lightning damage, and now the orb will go back up. So here, if you see that they can't attack because Eald'narche has the terror debuff on the enemies, and they're targeting everybody, and the fact that they're targeting everybody and Eald'narche is part of that everybody, it counts as targeting him. So with the terror debuff, they cannot act. So for first wave of bosses, pretty simple. I try to preserve a lot of Eald'narche's abilities here. So yeah, I don't want to make this into how to use an Eald'narche video. If you want me to kind of go into a guide on Eald'narche, let me know. But here, his kit is mostly based around shutting him down with the terror debuff and then just spamming HP attack. Pretty much, that's really what it is. A little boring, but he has a very powerful mechanic. He also has a lot of debuffs, huge amount of defense down. His warp does defense down -30%. His sustenance for paradise debuff, also defense down another 30%, and then he has a 40% defense down, which you can inflict with his Omega Javelin or his S2. So he lets the party hit extremely hard. He doesn't provide I don't think any buffs to the actual party, but he's dropping the defense down of your enemy so much that it helps out tremendously. So here you'll see that since these enemies, these are the main enemies, and the orb count is already going down because I'm not really hitting them with both elements, and I'm going to go straight into a burst here with Eald'narche, because his burst effect actually does give the party I think 30% overflow. It also gives them a BRV damage and limit of 5% per debuff on the enemy, and then also a BRV regeneration effect. So Tifa should be hitting also a lot harder since she gains bravery and then goes into her attacks. Aside from that, and you know, using his AA skill also, instead of inflicting two turns of terror, then you know you can use it increases that to 4. So you can prolong how long terror is on the enemy. So here you'll see that using his burst actually brought the orb count up, because if you've been playing Lufenia, when you go into burst mode, the orbs actually don't go up in count, or sorry, don't go down when you take a turn. So going into burst, you freeze the orbs, and then since I'm doing holy damage, they're just going up by 1. And here you'll see that getting them below 79% removes the orb. You'll see that right there, B could not attack because he's targeting Eald'narche. A will not be able to act because he's targeting all. And here it's pretty simple from here on out. They don't attack. They can't attack. So Eald'narche makes this really, really simple. Depending on who they're targeting, after the all attack goes away, then you might have to restart, which is what I had to do, until they are both targeting Eald'narche. Can sound a little tedious, but in reality is if you allow them to act just once, they go into a different stand and they start getting auras. They go into this into a stand where it's called quadrupedal mode, and you have to start breaking them because they'll activate something called Seraphorce. It's like this white aura, and they gain a bunch of BRV. They absorb BRV from the party. You have to insta break them, which then if you don't have Eald'narche and you're letting them attack, in order to insta break them, now you have to bring different party members. You're gonna have to bring somebody like Strago, Noel, Bart, Trey, Gabrant, things like that. So now the team composition does change. Here it's super easy because from here on out, you'll notice that they just can't act, so they don't change stands. And when they change stands, they can start absorbing magic damage, and then they can absorb even physical damage. Or resist magic and then absorb physical damage. So you pretty much, I think this is the easiest way for you to take care of this mission. As you can see here, with all these defenses down, I mean, Tifa is capping. She's pushing over the 9,999. If you look at here, same thing with Eald'narche. It's just, at this point, having holy damage weakness, enchanting the party with holy, Eald'narche's burst effect going in, and all of his debuffs that inflict so much defense down. It's pretty much a walk in the park. See, there you go again. They cannot act because they're targeting Eald'narche, and they do have the terror debuff on them. You can see terror right now. They both have 2 turns of terror left. It's the very last debuff on the right hand side, and yeah, at this point it's just pretty much the damage race. The orb is going to reappear right now at 49%, and one thing that I could probably suggest you doing is actually just eliminating one enemy. When you eliminate one enemy, which is risky because or actually no, sorry, it's not risky. So a lot of times when you're dealing with 2 bosses and you eliminate one boss, the other boss all of a sudden gets these huge buffs, or like the whole mechanic, I think, of the boss will change. It makes it really hard to do damage or whatever it is, or they'll do some big attack on you or something like that. And some bosses don't do that. And in this stage, you're safe to just completely eliminate one boss. And here you'll see that B is at 51%. If I would redo this again, I would just sit here and eliminate A, because if I eliminate A and then I trigger the orb on B, now I'll never have to worry about the orb because it's always staying where it is. Here the problem is with Tifa, as she targets, as I activate B's orb and Tifa's only hitting A, B's orb is going to start to count down. So now you have to play with both or the orbs from both bosses, and be switching back and forth, things like that. Worrying about 2 orbs is just unnecessary to do that. Now this is what I do in this run. It still doesn't make it that difficult, but if you're finding yourself kind of keeping up with both orbs, things like that, then I would suggest just eliminating one of the bosses and then dealing with, and then triggering the other boss's orb. Would you do that by lowering his HP down below 49%, as you can see here, and you can make things a lot easier for you. Again, just eliminating that, one of the bosses and not worrying about some huge buff or some huge attack coming up and trying to wipe you out. From this point on out, I think once the orb gets pretty low, I'm just gonna go in and summon, bring all the orbs back up, and that's gonna give me plenty of time to also suffice the turn limit, because the turn limit's pretty, or the turn count here is pretty tight. You have to take care of these guys or beat them before 65 turns. And that's why I brought Tifa and then the Tifa friend unit. They're gonna both allow me to beat them under 65 turns. If you try to bring, I mean, it could be done with other characters. There's plenty of runs out there where people are not using Tifa and using other people. So it's definitely doable, but it just, again, really depends on how hard you want to make it on yourself and how much time you got. To play the game and try different team compositions out. In my opinion, this is, I think, one of the easier ways of doing it. I tend to try to do runs based on what I feel people might have, like a roster, people might have. I don't really max out, for people that have been watching the videos, I really don't max out my characters, like just on artifacts. I don't try to get the perfect artifacts. Now, if I get the artifacts, great, I'll put them on them, but I'm not grinding for artifacts. I don't really see that being a must-have to be able to beat certain stages. So here you'll see on both A and B, since I'm doing AoE damage with Eald'narche, the orb is staying where it's at. They still have terror on, so again, nothing to worry about. They're not going to take a turn and then have me having to deal with all those auras and stuff like that. With Kuja, it's just trying to use the Ultima to keep bringing Kuja's turn all the way up as much as possible. Again, there it is. They cannot move him. It's just Eald'narche really just made this stage super easy, in my opinion. Here, A only has one more. If I was to act, that's it. I'm gonna wipe the party. So this is where I summon, and now when you summon the orb, I think you pause the orb, but at this point I completely forgot if it does or not. Anyway, since here I'm doing 2 different types of elemental damage, which is the lightning damage and holy damage. There it goes. Now the orbs are going up, and this is a perfect time to bring in the Tifa friend unit. I am at 50 at a 50 turn count right now, and doing both types of elemental damage is just gonna keep increasing the orb count and also allowing everybody to do a lot more damage. This is all, I mean, this is probably end of game right here. See, Kuja's doing a nice amount of damage as well, helping out. And that's it. Other characters you can bring for tanks, you can bring Nine, you can bring Arciela, Galuf, Gladio, and then for counters or off-turn damages, you can maybe bring Trey, you can bring, who else? Emperor, things like that. The main character to bring here is really going to be Ashe. Ashe enchants the party for both holy and thunder damage. Sorry, I know the whole video I said lightning, but thunder damage. So holy and thunder damage is going to be what Ashe enchants the party with, and I think that's what this fight is really made for. With that, you shouldn't have any issues at all with the orb, but then you are, I mean, technically you could replace even Kuja with Ashe and still make this work. I think that once you start replacing Eald'narche, it could become a little bit more problematic. And if you're gonna play this without Eald'narche, you'll see why. Doesn't mean it can't be done. It still can be done. You can bring Paladin Cecil as well. You can bring I think Dash, but with the 65 turn count restriction, I don't think he's gonna dish out enough damage. Cryo, things like that. So there are other characters that you can use for this. You can even bring probably even Lightning with some type of holy enchanter like Kuja and maybe Ash, because now you're hitting for even if you have Kuja, you're still hitting for with 2 different types of elements. So yep, that's my run here for this fight. You can see that I really didn't even have, I think it was Tifa's or Eald'narche's perfect artifact sphere or artifact passives, nothing like that, or even spheres on Eald'narche, and it still worked out. So good luck to you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. Also, let me know in the comment section what you think about this mission and who you used to complete it. Check the links in the description for Opera Omnia websites that give you a bunch of helpful information, and I'll see you on the next one.